are the apps that bring people to places? And then you might think about Google Earth, you might think about Bring Traveler, you might think about others, right? So it is important, for example, or here I said, okay, we want to build something around fitness or about skills. Okay, great. Then what are the elements within this app that we might want to research or dissect? Maybe it is about how the final score is shown. Well, then at that point, we don't need necessarily a fitness app. It could be a puzzle game that also shows the star level of how you did for that game. So, and there are many examples here, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact, make a very clear statement about what you're going to research, what is the initial idea, and what should come out of this initial research, right? Wandering around and looking at what other peoples are making, number one. And next step would be, and why is this so important, right? Because you can learn about the user experience, improve from it, innovate, and find other way in which the user can interact or can immerse in a determined space, or at the end, just save time and work, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. So this is a very important aspect, and let's try to think about this. So you are going to design something, going to compete in these different categories. And the important thing is try to find the right balance between innovation, right? Something that is new, something that feels fresh, but something that is not completely crazy, right? Because it has to be something that is achievable, that is grounded, and there is no other way of building something that is grounded than actually learning and experience what is possible today. Let's think about this. So it's not, you need to understand what is available on the market today, what are the limitations, and build around those technical constraints and try to innovate upon what is already available right now. So this is a very important thing, and you can do this, I believe, only by experiencing this firsthand. So it means that only if you're gonna wear a headset, and this is something that is my personal opinion, it's like if I would ask any of you to start designing a mobile app and then nobody has ever held a phone in their hands. I'm not sure that you're gonna come up with something good enough, right? Also because the people that are gonna judge this contest are people that have been in the field for years, right? So they have certain expectations, they adhere to certain standards, and that doesn't mean that you don't have room to innovate. You have plenty of room to innovate, and that has to do with the beauty of being a design challenge. But let's think, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but it's important to find that right balance between innovation and something that is technically possible. So what are the things that you need to look into these experiences? Well, you need to look at, when we look at the specific design, it's like how the position and the scale of the UI is. Maybe does it fit within the field of view? How do the user navigate in the 3D space? How there are some object interaction, how to measure user attention. So these are all things that are important that you should look into when analyzing, when looking at other apps, how they are tackling certain design challenges that are typical of XR that have to do with the 3D space. And that's why, again, I think there is certainly place to build and innovate on 2D UIs and bring some of those elements in the 3D space, but then what is the added value of being in 3D? That is only something that you can learn and build upon if you are experiencing this in a headset. So I'm gonna go, unless I have major disruption, Ashrey, and there are questions. I see some stuff going on in the chat, but all good so far. Now, where do you find these other apps? Now, everybody knows the Meta Store. That is great. There is a lot of stuff there. Maybe not everybody in this call knows about SideQuest. SideQuest is another place where you can find different kind of apps. And, honestly, the advantage of there is that they are easier to filter, they are easier to search. So if you're looking for other apps, you might as well check SideQuest. Now, another place is DevPost. DevPost is the platform that we will use for this competition, but it has also a database of many other hackathon, XR hackathon, the MIT Reality Hack, that come from where there are a lot of other projects, and in there you will be able to see what were the winners, what were some good designs. So there is a question from Naga. I like side quests. How do I leverage that? I loaded my regular APK via it. So in this case, what I'm mentioning is, thanks Shrey for the question. In this case, I will leverage it more as a research tool, right? Of course, you can load it. You can load your app, but in this case, we are not asking for an APK that needs to be playable, but you can go there and search for what you're looking for. Hey, we are building this fitness. Let me check for fitness app to try out, for example, in the simplest of the example. But again, do not underestimate that post, because is okay. Loy has no sound, but people have sounds, right?
Yeah, everyone. Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's an internal issue. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So fantastic. I'm not talking for 10 minutes without at least.
Yeah, it's all good.
Great. So dev post, guys. Dev post is when there is a lot of good stuff. Let's do it. Now, I want to be quick about this. This is a list when there are VR trainings, but this is something that I haven't shared with many folks yet, but this is a massive list of mixed reality apps. That is not this. That is not this one. This is an old link. Let me get to Notion, and it's this one. I'm gonna correct the link when I share the presentation with you guys. So this is a massive list that I have built with over 400 mixed reality apps for Quest. These are all, and I mean all the mixed reality apps that are available right now for Quest. And each one has, and I've created also like a gallery view of it, and you can also start filtering these apps. It's taking a while because it's like 400, but in it there is also, you can get a rating for the app, and you can get also the number of reviews, so you can kind of like use and review this and look and filter. So let me see if this has been loaded. No, it's not loading, but it's no problem. So this is a list, and I've personally built this one. I think it's super valuable. Yeah, here we go. This is a list with, indeed, as I was saying, 400 mixed reality apps. There is the rating. You can go there and find the link and explore it yourself to find what you're actually looking for. I've built this list. You can go here. If you like this kind of stuff, and if you like also the intersection between XR and AI, you should absolutely check out the newsletter after. But this is something that I share only with who subscribe. But for you guys, you can go there. I'm going to share the link afterward. Okay? So this is a great place to do your research. Now, let's move on. Ideation and low fidelity prototyping. By the way, there is a question. Yes, I can provide the link there. Let me see if I can provide the link quickly. It was here, sharing, view site. I think it's here. Here it is. Should work. And let's figure it out. Let's see. Should work. Okay, so there was also a question, how we do this if we don't have a headset, right? When we do not have a headset. So what happened here? I think, and again, this might not be the most popular opinion, but I think it's important to have it. Can you still contribute? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can still contribute. You can still do a lot of design, ideation. I do still believe that the headset gives you an edge because you are able to experience and build for that medium. That being said, ShapesXR, and I'm going to show you right now, also has a web editor that allows you to import assets and co-create and collaborate in real time with people that do have a headset. And it's actually, I'm not sure there is another tool that does something like this. So it doesn't get you out. You can still use ShapesXR, for example, to do some ideation, prototyping, and build some scenes and layouts that you can use for creating visual for your project, 100%, and also work with people that are in VR. Okay, so we are going to look a bit at ideation and low fidelity prototyping, and that's where I want to tell you a little bit about shapes. So, so there is like what are key considerations for translating 2D interfaces? I believe there will be a lot of people that can tell you this. I don't think that this session is specifically for this one, and I would rather, for the sake of showing you this, move forward. But I'm pretty sure that you will get a lot of other people joining at the session will dive more into this specific topic. Brandi, thank you very much for the question. It's just for the focus of this that I would rather to move forward. I hope that's okay. So now, when we think about the people that are involved and why we build ShapesXR, right? So because creating 3D on a 2D screen is actually very tricky, as we will see later. There are also a lot of developers, and they don't take properly into account they don't take into account the designer's work, your input, very often. And it's also very hard to pitch, right? It's very hard to show and explain what is your idea. And that is why we have built Shapes, right? So there is a question, which headset do you recommend for beginner? I will recommend a Quest 3S. It's the cheapest, and it has, I think, the best compromise for quality and price. There was also another question, are there specific platforms to be used during this challenge? No, there aren't. So it's not like you need to use ShapesXR for designing, or you need to use Premiere Pro to create the video, or Blender to create the 3D models. No, at the end you will need to submit what is a video, a presentation, and if you have a ShapesXR space that I'm going to show you briefly right now, I think that increases your chance that people will understand your design and you will be able to communicate it properly, even without having like a 3D mock-up that is complex build, and I'm gonna be in and show you this. No, ShapesXR doesn't work on a Magic Clip to Naga, sorry. Yes, we can take part even without having a headset. Let's go in. I'm going to show you the web editor so that you're all going to get an impression of what this is about. Okay, so, but why we have built Shapes? Because indeed we want to empower designers. We want to make sure that whatever is your handover to a developer is actually clear. There is no room for misunderstanding. And also, of course, because you can more effectively pitch and share your ideas with other people that are not involved in a project. For example, a judge. And by the way, blessing, you are properly sorted, you have a Quest Pro, you are blessed. Yeah, check this out. Now, why ShapesXR is very good? Because it is accessible and quick, because you can create very quickly, as I'm going to show you very shortly. It is collaborative. You can build interactive prototype, and it fully works in mixed reality, and it's pretty mind-blowing. Okay, so what is ShapesXR is used by studios and enterprises. So this means that there are companies like FeedXR, Nano, Trip, so startup size that are leveraging Shapes for design, but also big corporates like, for example, Meta, Microsoft, Accenture, Orange. So they are using Shapes to design and prototype their immersive experiences. And by the way, this is not our words, these are indeed designers, principal designer at Microsoft. We were discussing the project back and forth for 30 days with no progress, but then it took us only 30 minutes to come to a decision. So make whatever you want. I think it's really important of thinking how this could also empower and accelerate your own flow. Now, that's not just about that, but for example, Meta themselves, they have got pitches about game idea, that were actually done in ShapesXR. So they were shared with them, and they could indeed understand what was the game idea behind, what was the fun that the developers, the creators were trying to capture, and then do this just using a ShapesXR prototype. So let's now go, and I'm gonna wear the headset and show you a couple of things that you can do in Shapes and how this works with the web editor. Let me start from there, so that because there were a couple of questions of people. Okay, so this is ShapesXR. Once you can go in, create a new account, and then starting creating a new space. your will be empty, but you can create a new space and that you will be here. So in this web panel is where, for example, you can also add your own files, because you can import 3D models, you can import PNG, even Figma prototypes, something I'm going to share with you very shortly. Okay, so you are in a space, you have created a new space via the button there, and then you can do open the editor. Okay, so the editor will open. Now it is a bit empty. But what we can do already is that, for example, we can import here some files. Let me go. So let's say that this is, let's say, a familiar web editor. You have a bunch of assets, primitives, and shapes that you can kind of like pop inside the scene. And you see, it's pretty, let's say, familiar. You can change things, but you can also import your own assets. So for example, let's say that I want to add maybe a PNG. So I'm now adding this PNG from my file. I get it in the scenes, and here we have it. I've got a PNG. I can move it and position it around, scale it, and so on. Now, this is valid also, for example, for other 3D assets. For example, I can add this one. Okay, so how do you find, before, I think it's an important one, how do you find 3D assets? So I think many people know websites like Sketchfab. That's a very popular one. You can get stuff there. One that people usually do not know is, for example, poly.pizza. It is super powerful website. It has a lot of 3D models that are low poly, so they are perfect with VR. They even have these packs that you can just dump into shapes and start using and creating. So it is incredible, and you can just search and find stuff in there, right? So two that are great are poly.pizza, or otherwise you can use Sketchfab. But of course, there is AI nowadays. So Turbo Squid, of course, Luisa, thanks for sharing. But there is also AI, so you can use a tool like Meshi, where you can type, get your own model, and just start creating that. So poly.pizza, it's pretty good. I think you're gonna like it. So where were we? So now, Toby said this is amazing. Happy to hear that. Now you have, for example, now I'm adding, for example, a 3D object. This is a mug. Now, the problem with this mug is that it is actually huge. Whip. And now we'll make it smaller. This has to do with the way the asset was created in the first place, right? So it's nobody's fault. It's there. And now we are here. Now, this is, and then you can start creating. Now, with people that are, for example, also in VR. Now, that's what we are going to do right now. So I'm going to put on the headset, and then I'm going to jump in ShapesXR, and okay. Are there questions in the meantime?
Yes, let's see. So I think one of the question was, so can you edit without a headset? So I think that's what we saw about the web editor.
Yeah,
and,
that's.
The other one was, what is ShapesXR and what does it do? What are its use cases?
Yeah, so ShapesXR is a design and prototyping. It allows you to create and assemble this 3D scene to share your prototype and your idea. And one thing that makes it different from other tools is the ability to tell a story, right? So this is not just a 3D modeling tool, but what you can do is that you can use different frame or stages and use those to tell a story, simulate, for example, interactions, okay? So I just want to show you just a little bit of the beginning, and I'm going to dive deeper into it shortly, right? And I want to first go, and so there are also questions here. I want to start casting so that you guys can see what I am seeing. And now this is going to be in mixed reality, but it is what it is. So let me just start casting my screen. Record, cast, computer, next. Okay. Okay, so now you are here, you see my screencasting. So one thing is, how do I get started? So in here, you can go right here and then go and follow the tutorial. So see what's new, you're gonna have all the tutorials that you can follow, and as well as go to samples and experience and explore different spaces that have been built using ShapesXR. Okay, so the things that you need to know are, for example, some of the things I'm sharing, like how to import assets, and then some of the things that I'm going to share with you right now. So let's imagine now I go to that space that I've just created. And now here, what is actually pretty mind-blowing, let's see if this works. Right, okay. I think that you will see me. Hello, hello. So here I am. You see that on the left, that should be me waving. And on the right, there is my first person view, right? So in this case, let me share maybe like this in full screen. I am now the VR editor in there, and while moving things in real time, you will see it happening on the web. Similarly, if stuff gets moved in real time from the web editor, I would see it in VR. So we are collaborating in real time together, okay? So let me go back to my first person and just that so that you understand and I can show you something. So in Shapes, you get the ability to import assets and start creating. So for example, let's imagine that I want to have some primitives and maybe I have some, let's say, I can bring them in. If I want to, for example, create something like maybe like a button, I can, for example, use some of the procedural primitives. Let's say that I want this, I can select this object, and then there are different parameters that you can use to make this into a button. So let's say, hey, maybe I like this one, change the aspect ratio, and maybe, hey, I like this button like this. That's it. You can change also materials, of course, make it of a different color, and there you go. Right, you do have also a set of tools. For example, you can draw, and when you draw, you can just draw. And let's say that we have something like this. Maybe there you have this mug, and it's brought up by on this beautiful balloon. Right. Okay. So what I was telling you, and of course you can, as you see, import your own assets, create using the shapes and primitives that are here available, and then we also have like a big library. So with props, we have also pre-made environment, architecture, prototyping, arrows, and let's not forget icons that you can use per category. So if you have nature, if you have layouts or whatever, so you have here really like a lot of building blocks. Plus, of course, you can import your own. So let's say one thing that I wanted to quickly share was this example about the storytelling. So let's imagine, for example, that I would like to, when this button is pushed, I would like this balloon to flow up in the air. So how do you do that? So what you can do is that you can create a duplicate of this space, of this scene, and then you can say, okay, now this thing is going up, right? And then I can create another duplicate, oops, here, and it says, okay, then this goes up again. And then I'm gonna do this again. This thing goes up again. Okay, so what happened here effectively is that you have created this simple, very simple storyboard. And you say it's 1, 2, 3, right? And let's say that at this point, maybe I want to make another duplicate and say, okay, at some point the balloon will pop, and then this thing will fall down. And maybe there is like a bit of, okay, So we have built this little story, right? And we are saying, okay, now we have this moves up, and then will pop, and then will fall down. Now, what happens is that this is already like one of the examples. So some of the things that you can build, and I'm going to show you how to, the other added value is that this can all be made interactive, okay? What does that mean? So let me show you very quickly. You can go for the prototyping tab here, and you can say an interaction, and you can say on click, you can go to a scene, and you will go to the next scene. So what is the object that needs to be clicked is this button. And then it will go to scene number 2. So what happens now? And if I go here, wait, let me just get the viewpoints here in front so that, okay. So you see now, if I click, you see that the highlights, and this will go up. Perfect. But then it's not enough, because I want then this to go higher, right? So at this point, I want to add another interaction, and I can say, hey, after delay, go to the next scene. Maybe I want the delay to be 0.2. Accept. Done. Now I'm going to do the same, add interaction, after delay, scene, done. Next, add interaction, after delay. Bear with me, I'm almost done. Scene, done. Add interaction, after delay, where was it? Scene, done. Last one, add interaction, after delay, scene. Now, if I'm here, what should happen? And will fall down. Now, this is just an example, and there are a big variety of interactions that you can use. You can use specific button presses.
Gabriele,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think your casting has, it has frozen.
Okay. Let me refresh. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen, but the casting has frozen right now.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's okay. Yeah, we are okay. We are back.
Okay. No, thanks. That's right. Yeah. Then I'm gonna move forward. So now I'll replay it in case we have missed it. So we said we go here, we click, go down, and falls up. Right? I click, and it falls down. So there are a wide variety of interactions that you can use. For example, you can use specific buttons. So when you push a certain buttons and a certain stuff happen, you can use also hand interaction. You can use as well sounds. That is actually pretty mind-blowing. So if I go here, I could add interaction, let's say after delay, sound, and then I can add my own sound. So sound file, click to set. I've got, I believe was this one that I just downloaded. Rewind, Walkman, yeah, it was this one. And now you will not be able to see it, but there is a pop sound. And then what will happen is that the sound will pop, and then I will hear it. So this means that if, for example, you want to simulate an AI interaction, you could actually do that, right? You could actually have a voice that is an emulated voice that here and is specialized, that is positioned in different area that you can mock up. Now, there is just one thing that I want to share before I go back to the PC, and that is how to leave a hollow note. This is extremely this is another interesting thing, because it's been a while. They guys have checked. Yeah, here we go. Hollow notes. Wait, teleport hollow notes. Where was it? Interesting. Comment. Yeah. So in here, in the collaboration part, there is this space. There's no hollow note yet, but you can add one. You can put this head. You can move this, yeah. And let's say that I want this to be here, and I want to talk about these balloons popping. So this will be where the user will will experience these hollow notes. And you can start recording. So you see me. So this is a fantastic prototype of a balloon tied to a mug. And when you will push the button, the balloon will go up. Have fun. That's it. There will be the hollow note that you can position in a space, and then you will be able to play. So this is a fantastic prototype of a balloon tied to a mug. When you will push the button, and you don't hear it, but the person that is in VR will be able to hear it. And trust me, this is gonna make a huge difference. This is gonna have a huge difference when you're gonna present your space, because you can have a narrative. You can explain different different aspects of your design. Why certain things are built in a way they were built. Maybe some examples, some variants that you have tested, right? So this is extremely powerful when you are building in VR. And by the way, I said that there would be one thing, but there is another one. And I'm sorry, because just there is so much to show, so much. So let's imagine. Now, the other thing is Figma interactive prototypes. I'm pretty sure, who loves Figma in this chat? I want a thumbs up or a balloon, whatever it is, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people here use it. But what you can do right now is that you can import your Figma interactive prototypes in Shapes. How do you do that? You can go here. This is an interactive prototype that I have. So you see start, you can do things, this thing, scroll, whatever. Share prototype, follow me here. You can copy this link. Then you can go in the Shapes panel. You can go to My Files. And then let's say that, I'm gonna put it here. And then you can say import Figma prototype, go here and copy the link. Import. Great. Now, we go back to where I was, that is here. I never heard Figma until this week. Nice. That's what we love. That's why you will have no problem starting from Shapes, because then you are like fresh. So, a thing here, My Files. Okay, and we said it was inside the sound thing. I'm gonna throw this away, we don't need it. We have this. And you've seen the UI. Man, I love live demo when they work. It's just so fucking amazing. Okay, and here you go. So one thing you need to do is that you need to add an additive material to the space, to the UI. And this is, yeah, so this needs to, let me double check. Yeah. So this depends also how you have built it. Oh, wait, let me just check. Yeah. So this is like the interaction part, and you will be able to change this and correct it. And I'm gonna get back to you with the exact setting that you need to use to import it, but you can have your own, oh, by the way, and I forgot, all this works also in mixed reality. Yeah, the problem was this headset, guys. So sorry, I apologize. This was a headset in which I have problem. I don't know why. Yeah, something you should, it's my mistake, it's not yours. I wanna check just one thing. All this works also in mixed reality. So if I'm here and I'm gonna play this, and pops. So also for any of your mixed reality prototypes, you'll be able to play around and create in your environment. Okay, so I think I have been sharing and doing such stuff, but let's go back and let's go back to the presentation. Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna show some word example here. So let's go back here. So there are samples also in the app. There are samples inside the app that you can share of many prototypes. Let me just first some examples so that you can really relate and understand. In this case, this was an example from MIT Reality Hack. What is happening is that these two people are testing a game idea. So there is this box and the ball is moving inside it, but you see how Michael on the left is this character here, and instead the woman here on the right is this character, right? And you see how you can quickly test and ideate, and this potentially, with a bit of visual refinement, could already be a design prototype, an idea for a game that you could share. There is one person that is wearing the headset that is actually playing and doing the puppeteering, like making up stuff, and then playing this mock-up game. This is like a very simple example of how you can start creating and prototyping in Shapes. Another example is this one. So you can also attach UI to your own hand and controller. So in this case, you can, for example, try different menus and try different layouts. So you see it's trying below it, it's trying at the on the left. And then you can say, okay, how is this going to evolve and change? How do I test it? So this is an example. The UI is maybe on one case, the other UI is in another direction, or maybe it's of a different size. Maybe one is easier to point and to manipulate. So again, this is all done directly in ShapesXR without coding, just attaching UI to your controller and hands. Now, this is another example. Again, this uses some interactions where you can actually point, trigger some interaction, and then trigger some special effect. And these are all touch-based. Again, all of this is prototype in Shapes. Right? So right? So these are just an example of some of the things that people have built. But there is also another point. I want to show this little. I'm not sure if the audio can be played. So this. Can you hear the audio?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay,
I think if you keep it loud enough, we might hear it through your microphone, but
no, not possible. Let me just try one more try. Screen.
Also, on your web browser, on top, there's an option to share the sound as well.
I think I solved it. Okay. So one thing is also the fact that whenever you work, you need to be mindful of what has to be the final outcome, right? So the final outcome is maybe like a video that you want to share, or a ShapesXR space, or a trailer for your project, right? So you need to be mindful of how to use the various tools that you have to make something that convey your design idea. And I am 100% sure that one of the tools that you're going to use is going to be, for example, After Effects. There is nothing wrong about it. Premiere, nothing wrong about it. It can be Figma. It can be you acting out. So I think that one of the things that you should be flexible and creative in the way you communicate this idea. And that's why I wanted to share this quick video that was created when the project, this was for a hackathon at the XRDC that last August, where the team at that point in time hasn't coded anything. Everything was about telling the story and showing with prototype built in ShapesXR how this was working. So let me show you.
Oh, nice. First plant? Yep. Don't forget, water it hard.
Let's face it, caring for plants is really boring. So we've asked ourselves, how do we disrupt houseplants industry? Introducing plants that can speak.
Look who finally decided to grace me with their presence.
Give your plants personalities.
It's not like I need water or anything, right?
Interact with them.
If you're going to water me, at least make it interesting.
Give them some love. Sometimes,
You think you could maybe remember to water me once in a while?
the more plants you have, the more drama you can experience.
I'm picking up some weird vibes from that new succulent you brought home last week.
Hey, I'm new. What's up?
Did you water your plants?
So this is the idea, is that with all this content that was built using just creativity and some of the assets that you can just download, this whole design idea basically came to life, right? So this is just an example, and there are more here that you can check. I just want to save a bit of minutes towards the end for some questions. So now, the other thing is we have discussed about ideation and creating some low fidelity prototyping. Ideation, what does it mean? I don't want to say, okay, this is how you do ideation. It's more like the ideation process is different, but it's about getting stuff in, for example, images, 3D models, and be able to quickly create this simple storyboard. Okay, this is an idea, and this thing can take you 1 hour, no longer. And that's the great thing. That's why I believe that there is a lot of power in coming up with ideas that are in 3D and share them with other people in 3D, right? So low fidelity prototyping means that you can start creating these simple interactions, or maybe like a little video of how this is going to look like, right? But how do you work together? How do you do, for example, a review? How do you share it? So when I was here, I also wanted to all this, it's something that you can share a link, for example, and this link can be shared with anybody, right? You can embed it, for example, in a Notion document. You can copy the code and work with other people. And for example, let's say I was in that presentation again, and I want to go to this project here. That was another amazing project. I can go here, just a URL. I can experience it from here, or launch it directly in VR. So I can open in VR, or I can open the editor. So this is an example in which you, within ShapesXR, you can share and export what you have built. Of course, you can take images. But the other thing that you can do is that, for example, you can export as a GLTF, or you can export into Unity. So if, for example, you want to maybe do something with a camera movement that you wouldn't achieve, or you can, for example, keep working on that specific layout that you have built, this is something that you can do in exporting from Shapes and sharing this with your team. So this is another important aspect. Then we do have the high fidelity prototyping. Honestly, I want to share an example here. I don't know how many of you know Red Matter. It is actually an incredible game. But one of the things that is actually pretty cool, let me go 720 here, and I want to share. So this is the actual interaction in Red Matter 2. So you see, you go there, you grab it, and then you start, right? That's basically it. So what I want to show you here now, when we're talking about high fidelity interaction, high fidelity prototype, is the journey of building this thing in a couple of minutes in Shapes. So here again, I'm using some primitives that you have seen playing around live, and then changing their shape and creating from scratch those claws in 3D. You can easily change them. You can easily create duplicates, and then at this point you have these claws, right? Created very briefly. Now, the other point is that you want to show, for example, how these claws are highlighted, because in this case, you see that there is let's say, an active state of the claw, and that's when the light are orange. So I wanted to use also give you the impression there was some light, so I used some of the built-in PNGs and images to simulate that, and have the different states with those frames that you have seen while I was sharing. And so here you go. You have the different states, you have the inactive, active, and grab of the interactions. And then what you do is that you test it. So you can directly attach this whole thing to the controller. And then, well, after starting, you can test it. In this case, by using the grip button, I say, yeah, so when I'm pushing the grip, I told you that there was this opportunity to attach interaction to different buttons. I push the grip, and now when that happens, I will be able to change that, and that's it. Now when grabbing, you see that I'm actually able, when pushing the grab button, I'm actually doing that. Now, what I want to do is that when is that this is going to trigger, right? And I have this kind of like bounding box that I used to simulate. And then having these highlights, and that's it. So now moving closer to the object, that's the moment that I get the highlight, right? And lastly, you see that basically I get I want to show how the object is grabbed. And by the way, this is how the final interaction, the interaction in the game looks like. You grab, you move the object, and then you put it down, just to remind you. And then this is in ShapesXR, built in 1.5 hours. You go this, you grab, and that's it. And this is a mock-up, right? Again, there is no code. It's not something that is being coded, but then when it's about showing how a certain interaction, especially, for example, for new UI interfaces, everything can be built just in Shape. And even the judges can even experience it. And this, I think, is quite mind-blowing. So, guys, I think we are towards the end of the hour. And I really, so think spatial. Put on the headset if you have, and start thinking differently. And one way of doing it is start building in 3D, and ShapesXR provide like a very powerful tool set to do that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm not sure there are many times for questions, but I'll shut up now.
That was super cool, Gabriele. You showed a lot of stuff. Like, there's so much that we can take from this, and I think we have about 5 minutes. And there were some technical questions, like some of them were like, can you export it to Unity and Unreal?
Yes, you can export. There is a Unity plugin that we have available that allows you to export directly to Unity. To export to Unreal, you need to have, you can export as a GRTF.
Okay. And yeah, does Shapes work on Oculus Quest 1?
I think it does, even though we don't officially support it anymore, but I think it should still work.
Right. And can you simulate hand gesture controls in ShapesXR?
So we have the opportunity to add hand interactions, like for example, touching, right? It is, but you don't have the whole flexibility like pinching. But to create some mock-up, this is something you can do. We also have in the interaction menu the ability to switch to hand gestures.
Right. Yeah. Okay, there are a couple more.
So ShapesXR is best experience in a headset to experience all the creative power, but we do have the web editor. And for anybody that is tuning in at the end, whenever you go and open a space, you can always go and open the editor, and then in there you'll be able to drop assets, make changes, create those frames, move around and float in space. So you will be able to, oh, actually, I have stop sharing, share screen, full screen. Yeah. So as I was saying, you can go and open a space, open the editor, and by the way, this is exactly what I've built, guys. Right? So ta 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 ta. That's it. That's what I've built, and this is also what you will have in the editor. And if you want to change it and mess up with the work of the VR guy, you can say, haha, screw you, now I've changed the mark. So you can still do that.
Yeah. And I think there's one more feature that I really like about Shapes is that you can collaborate from anywhere in the world. So you just need to share a room code, and then it's so powerful.
Yeah, and one thing that it's really real time. I've never seen anything where there is someone on the web and someone in VR that with close to no latency are able to still work together and share this actively. So I think it's pretty impressive. By the way, there is one point. Can anyone? Yes. So some people say, can join the space editor. Like, could we showcase anyone at any time? Yes. If I now wear the headset, you will see me appearing there at real time. But it is true, the full interactivity doesn't work on web yet. This is our first iteration. It's going to get better, but yes.
So is there any specific Unity version required to export the content from ShapesXR to Unity?
So the best thing is go to our website, shapesxr.com, check the help section, and in there you will find the step-by-step guide of what you need, what version, because I cannot provide you the exact number.
Yeah. I think there's one more question about documentation. I think you'll easily find it online, so we can share the link on Discord later on.
One thing is that I didn't emphasize during this conversation was the ability to prototype in mixed reality. So it is actually incredible. If you're building a mixed reality prototype, there is, I think, no other way to do it than in Shapes. And you have a little headset on your controller. If you click, you are in mixed reality. You can even we have pass-through material to simulate like occlusion. You can add the boundaries of your room. You can have the room scale down. It's kind of like dollhouse mode, add assets and go back at real scale. It's mind-blowing. If it's mixed reality, you should try it.
Nice. All right, so we're almost closing. Last two questions. And so we have a question. Do we have an option to optimize the model we prototype?
So, I mean, everything you build in Shapes is rather simple and already optimized in terms of primitives and so on. So you don't need to worry about that. But indeed, if you then want to export it, then it's something that it's up to you. Yeah, you can change the assets. And there was one important question: is that yes, can two people both in VR interact with the same scene together? Absolutely. So if you can just join, share the space code, and there could be up to, we do our meeting in Shapes, and there are 10 people at the same time talking, creating, making a mess sometimes. But yes, you can totally be together, share, and especially during the ideation process, I absolutely recommend you, because I mean, it's just incredible. When you're ideating, testing ideas, it's a very incredible experience.
Yeah, and I can tell it from my personal experience as well. Like, we were there at a hackathon, and then first we did was we were in Shapes. We were trying to make a multiplayer game, and then we used it for prototyping and testing it. So good.
So do we need an option? So if, maybe as a close up, you can request for this special XRDC community license, and I think you can check in the Discord, and in there you can apply for it for a limited amount of time. You can have access to all the features you have seen and many more.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, thank you so much, guys, for joining. Yes, the recording will be there available after this. And Gabriele, thank you so much for taking your time off and giving us all this information and showing the demos. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have fun, enjoy, and best of luck.
All right, guys. See you. Bye-bye.